Breathe. Everyone breathe. That was crazy. I stress. Like my dog jumped up on the couch, was like, "Bro, are you having a mental breakdown? What is going on?" This game was stress. Like stress from the minute. What a topsy-turvy game, right? First of all, the Oklahoma City Thunder season is over. One of the most interesting, commendable, incredible young teams in NBA history, and I hope that their future is as bright as it looks right now. Obviously, these things are not for granted. You don't take anything for granted. This team did not take anything for granted. Um, but man, SGA is for real, man. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Canada stand up, be very, very proud. It's the face of your national team for, you know, probably the next decade until someone better comes along, and don't hold your breath on that happening. He's incredible. He was incredible tonight. Um, yeah, hats off to this team. Hats off to, Chet Holmgren, who is basically a rookie, in his second year, but still a rookie. Um, Battling as hard as he did in this series, despite the fact that, Derek Lively's also a rookie, but he's got weight on him. And Daniel Gafford's a grown man, right? Luka's a grown man, and Chet didn't back down from anything. He had a tough shooting series, really tough shooting series. I don't think Jalen Williams necessarily had the greatest series either. Obviously, Josh Giddey had his tremendous struggles in this series, and I look forward to seeing what his future will be with this team, because personally, I think they need to move off of him. But what a young team, right? What a young team. And they got what they wanted out of this. They got them experience, right? Um, Sweetness saying SGA was the best player of the series. OKC paid for their lack of size. Their reluctance to get a true center cost them no guarantee they will have the opportunity to get to the final again. We don't work with guarantees, but we work with probabilities, and I would say it's very, 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 very probable that this team will be back next year and will be even better and beefier. And they have a ton of assets. We're not even talking about the players on the roster, but just look at their boatload of draft picks and their internal development. Kason Wallace and effectively Chet Holmgren just sniffed their first taste of playoff action, and they were rotation players well into round two. They took, in my opinion, a championship contender to the brink of elimination, right? Like they took them to a game six. They won the number one. They were the number one seed. So now full disclosure, I did not pick the OKC Thunder to win this series. I've been telling every single person who would listen to me that the Mavericks were going to win this series, and frankly, I believe on player's choice. Last week, I told Mars and all those people. I said, Dallas is going to win this series. They're a better team. They have the best player. I think. Even if I walk out of this series saying that I believe that Luka Doncic is a better player than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the gap is nowhere near as close as nowhere near as far apart as I walked into this series thinking. And that's just my opinion. Luka's freaking basketball magician. He was not right for most of the series. I think that knee is really bothering him. So kudos to the Mavericks. They'll have some time to rest up, and then they will face their ultimate task in the Western Conference Finals, and then ultimately in the NBA Finals. But I think the OKC Thunder are like a great tune-up to what they're about to embark on, which is 2 rounds of hell against whoever they face. We will definitely talk about this game. We will flash to the post games. We'll try to go roughly an hour. We finally started a live before midnight. Hallelujah on that one. There's a call-in link below. If you want to talk about this game and you want to talk about the playoffs, towards the end of it, please save any Raptors draft talk. We did a Raptors live earlier to any Oklahoma City or Dallas fans who may venture in here. Yes, this is a Raptors channel. It will remain a Raptors channel, but right now we're covering the whole playoffs and we're covering pretty much the whole draft, but always with a bit of a Raptor specific focus. So you're going to hear a lot of references to Scotty Barnes and Jakob Pertl and the worst trade ever. But yeah, if you want to call in and talk about what you saw tonight or what may happen in the Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, we definitely take your calls on that one. Tariq saying Mavs versus Wolves would be a fun matchup. Yeah, it would be a really fun matchup. I think I don't think that's the matchup we're gonna see though. I'm just being real. I don't think that's the matchup we're gonna see, but I could be wrong both times tomorrow, and that's how unsure I am of myself. Like obviously I picked the Knicks to win and I picked Denver to win because they're the home team and they're the better teams, I believe. But there's a lot of variables, when it comes to a one game, because effectively we're in March Madness time right now with these 2 game 7s, right? One game, winner take all, anything can happen. Hot shooting, injuries, an ankle tweak, boom, right? It's over. You're riding your whole series on, like, granted, you have home court advantage, so maybe you coast a little bit and you wrote in your game 6 on the road. And I think both Denver and New York put themselves in this position to have to, and yeah, there's always this old adage where people come and they say, well, if you could have told them at the beginning of the year that they would have game 7 on their home court, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, bro, you could have closed out in 6. You could have closed out in 5. If you're the better team, you probably could have closed out in 4. It's not likely, but where are those Shaq and Kobe Lakers that went like undefeated until they got to the finals? I mean, you got to have bigger dreams, man. Sometimes, um, I understand it's hard. Muhammad Lay is saying Knicks are too banged up. Pacers takes it. Well, I got to tell you that if we are to trust Vegas, and we're not going to trust Vegas as gospel right now because Vegas has been wrong pretty much, the entire playoffs so far. I don't say they're wrong about the playoffs. They've been wrong about most of the series, but a lot of the games they overreact. And sometimes when you see the odds moving in a team's favor in like the 12 to 24 hours before the game, you start to feel like something is about to go very, very right for that team. That could be a referee assignment. That could also be a health injury update. That could be, because I mean, honestly, I don't mean to get all conspiratorial, but like there's scrimmages, there's practices, there's eyes in the sky. People are insiders. They're plugged in, so they know. Hey, Joe and Brunson, he looked really sore in practice today, or he looked really sore when he was walking out of his media scrum today, or whatever. Or this team looks really defeated, and then suddenly you start to see the odds and adjustments. Like, how do you think those lines come up, right? +3, -3, -3.5, +3.5. I can tell you for sure that the Knicks odds have moved. That the odds have moved in the Knicks' favor over the last 12 hours, and I expect them to continue to move in their favor. Whereas I believe it was relatively even. It was like a +1.5 or 2.5 earlier. I think it's +3.5 right now. If it starts to move to +4.5, you can very, very much say where the money is going, and I think the money is on the home team to win. Now, if you're going to tell me that the Knicks are going to come in with a banged up Josh Hart and no OG Anunoby and beat the Pacers, well, then they friggin' deserve it. Facts. They do deserve it. Now, bringing on to this game that we just watched tonight. Holy crap! Right, let's get into it. The tail of the game was second chance points. And you can sum this entire game up in that, right? I do believe Shai was the best player in this game, 100%, right? He was awesome. He had 32 points, and he had a very efficient night. He was 13 for 23 from the field. Missed 3 free throws. He probably wishes he could have one of those back because this was as close as it gets, right? Let's start with the end and then we'll work to the beginning, or we start at the beginning, we work to the end. I don't know which way we want to do this, but I think the thing on everyone's mind is, should PJ Washington have gone to the line? Did Shai foul him on that? And it's like depends on how you view it, but they reviewed it and they still ruled in favor of Dallas, right? Now, personally, I felt that the whistle was very in favor of OKC tonight. You may disagree with that, and I'm pretty sure if you're an OKC fan, you're probably going to disagree with that. But I felt like Dallas was very, very close to getting jobbed out of this game. There were a ton of fouls on Luka, a ton of fouls on Kyrie as they're driving and they're just not getting called. And then on the other hand, like Derek Lively's getting called for like the softest, moving screen or whatever. I want to, just say I like games that are decided by players and not referees. So personally, but you can't just blatantly allow someone to hack a guy. Now, I just want to say, just for the record, I believe Dallas wins this game, even if Tony Brothers doesn't call that foul. If you look at the court when that shot went up for PJ Washington, which was very short due to the, you can say it's due to the block, of course, but it's also due to like different schools of thought on this. He did block it. He definitely blocked it, right? And so you can say, okay, well, he blocked it. What does it matter if he hit his arm after, right? I mean, it matters to the referee, I guess. Maybe you say it shouldn't have been 3 fouls then. Maybe, you can say compromise a little bit. I don't know. But probably the Dallas Mavericks have the ball if that shot goes where it was going and there's like it's all scramble and Dallas probably puts it up for 2. At which point, because the Thunder are now at that point, would they have been out of timeouts? I believe they challenged, right? So the challenge, I believe, cost them their last timeout. Am I mistaken on that? Did they couldn't have had a challenge if they didn't have a timeout. Anyways, the game comes down to PJ Washington going to the line for 3, and the OKC Thunder are up by 1, and he hits what is it? He hits 1, and then he hits 2. And then he deliberately misses the 3rd. Now, what's interesting is Mark Dagnall, because he lost the challenge, he had already created a play, which is probably something that teams run 100 times in practice. End of game situations, down 5, down 2, down 1. They all have these simulation runs that they've done, and knowing that he's a coach of his magnitude, he's definitely done this. What the Dallas Mavericks do is really genius, in my opinion, which is they miss that foul, which puts the ball in Chet Holmgren's hand. He immediately passes Jalen Williams, and Jalen Williams takes a heave from like half court because they didn't have any timeouts. If he makes that 3rd shot, even though you go up by 2, you very, very much, like with almost 2 seconds left on the clock, you still do leave yourself open to a potential, heave and a foul, or a 3-pointer, or somebody getting open, full court, like scramble. You know what I mean? Like they had a play. They clearly had a play. So I think that you could have. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it as always. Yes, please do hit like on this video so more people come in and so I do think it could have gone either way, but yeah, like the missing that free throw and just choosing to win by 1 instead of trying to win by 2, I think was smart. I think it still could have cost you. Like, I mean, either way, like it could have cost you, but I do believe that giving the OKC Thunder that extra 2 to 3 seconds to inbound the basketball in the off chance that they were inbounding, I don't know. I think it threw them off their rhythm, to be honest. Like, I think it's just Bill Neath saying, to be honest, I just fully tired of all the Luka crying and whining to the refs to change the call. It's be quiet and play the game, man. It's embarrassing. Yeah, a lot of people feel like Luka cries a lot for calls. I also think he gets fouled a lot, but you're right. And you know what? Like the last game, he didn't cry for fouls, and frankly, he didn't get calls. So, and he got fouled a lot last game, like a fuck ton a lot, man. I watched some of these games back, and it's like, God, you can call a foul on almost every single time he drives. Lou Dort is hacking him. Like he got away with murder, straight up. Like in this series, Lou Dort could have fouled out every single game in the first quarter, and he didn't. So they allowed teams to get super physical, but then my only issue is don't call a moving screen on the other side. If one thing's a foul, like if me slapping Luka's arm on a drive to the point where he's bleeding, if me like hitting him in his face is not, like, you know what I mean? Like just be fair, just be even. Sigsaw saying Dort sat on 4 fouls for so long. Facts. And you know who sat on 0 points for a very long time? PJ Washington. He didn't have any points, and then he ends up like with the fourth quarter of his life. Um, like to take a look at the overall contribution of the OKC Thunder, I thought it was fantastic. Isaiah Joe gets to start again for Josh Giddey. He plays 28 minutes, and they needed all of it. He hit a very big three late. I think he was incredible for them and just gives them the proper spacing to allow Jalen Williams, who had a really good game tonight. I think it was one of the better games of the series. 8 for 14. He's super young, man. He and Shea are going to be back. Lou Dort, like, not the greatest shot making night for him, and he's a better 3-point shooter than 2 for 7. And again, it's like a game like this coming down to 1 point. You start looking back at everything. You look at Chet going 1 for 3. You say he goes 2 for 3. You see him go 1 for 6. You say he goes 2 for 6, which is 33%. You win this game. You know what I mean? There's so many makeable, missable shots. I hope Shea doesn't beat himself up about that foul. It was like at that point, it was tough. But like you got Kason Wallace going 1 for 6 from three. And it's like shit. He was like shooting north of 40-50% earlier from three. So it's like again, he goes 2 for 6. Like either one of those guys. Like I don't think you come into this night saying that Kason Wallace and Chet Holmgren, two rookies that have been very good 3-point shooters throughout the year, that they're going to go combine 2 for 12 in a do or die games, game 7 for them, but like a game 6. That's tough, man. You really are winning on the margins, but that's not in your control. Make or miss league, all that jargon. But like, what is in your control? Well, in theory, what's in your control is offensive rebounds, and the Dallas Mavericks got a shit ton of offensive rebounds, right? You got 4 from Daniel Gafford. You got 4 from Derek Lively, who is really just worthy of a completely separate conversation. You have 14 offensive rebounds for them tonight, and that's really the gap, man. The gap is like, and OKC Thunder, huge lead, right? Like they had a 17-point lead at one point. I think they were leading at 16 at halftime. But it's like it's the points off of turnovers, right? It's the points in the paint. Like the OKC Thunder, ultimately they won a lot of battles tonight, but they lose the second chance points, number one, and they lose the shooting battle, man. 51% from Dallas and 47% from three. Like it's hard to beat a team when they shoot 47% from three. It's just and the fact that you're right there with them. It just comes down to those rebounds, man. Like it's right there. I mean, Dallas got killed on fouls. PJ Washington just getting in and out of rhythm because he's cold. He's coming in. Luka's turnovers tonight, like just a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And it's just like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford just bought them extra possessions. It's like somewhere out there, Nick Nurse is on a beach somewhere smiling at this game because it's just like you get a game like this and you're just like, geez, like this is where offensive rebounding, size really pays off. I thought Kyrie was huge down the stretch. He didn't have a really big first half, as is kind of the case with him. But the quote was by Richard Jefferson, who, by the way, shout outs to Richard Jefferson for a nice little comment on my Nikola Jokic reel, which is kind of funny. He said, he's like, there's a way to celebrate Nikola Jokic without hating on these guys. And I'm like, all right, keep that same energy the next time you talk to Gilbert Arenas, Richard Jefferson. But nevertheless, Kyrie Irving was huge, man, down the stretch. Luka had a triple-double. A lot of people complaining about his, this and that, but I thought he was tough, man. He was tough tonight. Apart from, ultimately those turnovers, he had a monster game. He had 7 turnovers though tonight. 7 turnovers. That's crazy. 7 turnovers from him, 4 turnovers from Kyrie Irving. These are not like super mistake-free like players, but they're not guys who typically you would expect to come into a game like this and turn it over 11 times combined. So yeah, I mean, I thought they got the short end of the stick. I thought, they had a lot of shots go down that were just very valuable. And, PJ Washington, shout outs to him because he entered the fourth quarter, I'm pretty sure, with 0 points, and then he hits a free throw. He splits a pair of free throws, first for his first points. And then he hits like a huge 3-pointer. Then he hits another 3-pointer. And then he hits the 2 big ones that matter the most, right? Because frankly, none of this really works if he misses those first 2 free throws. And he's not the greatest free throw shooter. So that was very worrying. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe that the Dallas Mavericks, season is hinging, and the Oklahoma City Thunder is hinging on this guy shooting free throws, and he hits them. Another guy who hit a lot of big free throws tonight, Derek Lively, bro. Haka Lively is dead in the water, 2 for 3 tonight. He just made them pay every single time they went to it. I mean, honestly, like this guy might have some shooting potential down the line. Watch him become a stretch big like 4 years from now. That'll be hilarious. And then we can laugh at the Derek Lively stuff. But like, man, 12 points, 15 rebounds. He was energy, he was passion, and he was all over the place. And yes, if you're a Raptor fan, you damn well know that if you don't trade for Jakob Poeltl, this guy's probably a Toronto Raptor, because you wouldn't have had a center on your roster and he would have fallen right to you at the pick that you had, probably. So yeah, you know, think about that 20 times when you think of Jakob Poeltl. But hey, we got Grady Dick, and Grady Dick is pretty damn good. Jaden Hardy again played minutes, and Dante Exum again gets a DMPCD. I don't understand this completely, but hey, I'm not Jason Kidd, and I'm not the coach, so And Derek Jones Jr., the best veteran minimum signing. I think he's the best veteran minimum signing in the league. He might be the best veteran minimum signing of all time. Is he up there? He's definitely up there. If I made a Hall of Fame list of the best veteran minimums, like, bro, he played 40 minutes for you tonight. He was your third guy in terms of minutes, and he is making like less than $2 million a year. Think about this. The Toronto Raptors paid Jalen McDaniels twice as much as the Mavericks paid Derek Jones Jr. Bro, you got to win on the margins. You got to win on the margins. I complained about Kelly Oubre all year. Like, this is the value you find. Like, if you know what you're doing as a GM, this is where you earn your keep. They went so like they gutted their roster for Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, and they took a lot, took a lot of risks to get those guys. And so, yeah, like, you don't have Derek Jones Jr., you don't win this series. Frankly, his defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was so incredible tonight. Shai was, I said it earlier, he was just incredible, just hitting shot after shot. Tough shots. I don't think, PJ Washington really bothered him very much tonight. Couldn't keep in front of him. Just so shifty, so much craft, so much footwork, that goes into everything. He just gets to his spots so clean, so easy. He was a masterclass in that third quarter. It was really a beauty to watch him play basketball tonight. And it just came down to the little things. It came down to hustle. It came down to shot making. It came down to the other guys, as these things often do. And again, hypothetically, if OKC wins this game, I think they lose in 7 anyway. So I'm just like, whatever path we were going to get to this point, I think Dallas goes to the Western Conference Finals. What's next for OKC? Low-hanging fruit, everyone says, you get a big. You have to get a big. You have to get a big to help Chet, et cetera, et cetera. Like, they're huge. They're a huge team. They're just very young, right? So see where you are with Chet next year, strength and development. Get a big off the bench who can change a pace, like have that ability on your roster if you're getting killed. But there's a lot of advantages to being this skilled and this fast. And also, like, you consider the size on your roster, like with physical guys, like, everyone talks about length, width, girth, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, yo, man, like, look at where the league is trending. It's not like, apart from Nikola Jokic, like, I one of the big reasons why I think the Thunder, a lot of people had them written off, is because they lack size in the middle, but they also lack experience. And so they just got a lot of experience in this game. Spooky Ghost Rider saying, Rob, is this the last game in OKC for Giddey? Maybe. He is extension eligible this offseason, which opens up a whole Pandora's box of what is he worth, right? Someone I really like messaged me today. Shout outs to Brock. And, messaged me and said, what do you think of Josh Giddey and pieces for Jakob Poeltl? Wouldn't it help both teams, right? Now, regardless of how I feel about Josh Giddey personally, all the stuff, it's very difficult allegation to just sort of wipe out of your mind. It's sort of like what you're known for. I literally have 2 viral reels of the OKC Thunder attending Chet Holmgren's high school jersey ceremony, like his jersey retirement. in Minnesota. And I promise you, though, that reel has like 2 million views because everyone is just looking for Josh Giddey and to see if Josh Giddey showed up at a high school. I didn't think of that when I posted the reel. I thought it was just so cool to see like this team show up for Chet. And everyone's like, Josh Giddey's not there because he's not allowed in high schools. Bro, this is Toronto. You don't trade for players like that in this market. Like, I'm just telling you, like, this media market would eat him alive. They would ask him about that thing every single day until he's blue in the face and ruin his career. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, if the NBA has cleared their, thing, then I have no right to talk about it any further. That being said, as a player, I have a lot of issues with Josh Giddey as a player. The regression, the stagnation and certain skill development stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, maybe just not the right fit. You have Scotty Barnes, you have big playmakers across your roster. Yeah, it's a massive talent upgrade over Jakob Poeltl, but is it like, are you a better basketball team because you get Josh Giddey? I don't know, man. He presents a lot of problems. Like a like, like, what is it about Australian prospects and having this thing happen where they're high lottery picks and they just suddenly just stop shooting or don't know how to shoot? I don't get it. What are they doing in Australia where these guys are not shooting well from the court? Andrew Bogut could shoot a little bit and bring him back out of retirement. He's Croatian though. It's worth noting. He's a Croatian Aussie, so maybe that's where the shooting comes from. I don't know, man. I really don't. I'm still scarred by Aaron Baines, if you can't tell. I think that's still it. You said exception Kyrie Irving. Are you under the impression that Kyrie Irving is from Australia? He is from Australia. Oh my God. What? How did I not know this? Born in Melbourne, Australia. Yo, what? What? Oh my God. That is fucking crazy. How did I not know this? He didn't grow up in Australia. He grew up in New Jersey, bro. Like, what? When did okay, I gotta, like, quickly learn about this. What? There we go. Okay. So his dad was playing basketball in Australia. Makes sense. I did not know this. This is crazy. Dude, I can't believe I did not know this. This is crazy. Like, how is this not brought up, like, way more often? That's crazy. He didn't talk about it very much at all. Like, I know about his native roots. I know that. But damn, I don't Money saying no Baines, no Scotty. Damn. Yeah, that's true. That's very true, actually. Yeah. Shout outs to Aaron Baines, man. Anyway, on to the next series. I mean, look, honestly, this game is just all about the margins, right? It really was. Like, it came down to, I think you take any one variable and flip it, and this is just the OKC Thunder should not have lost this game, but they should have lost this series, if that makes sense, right? So you feel bad about losing the game because you think game 7 would have been like a lot of experience to them, but they're perfectly capable of losing in Oklahoma City. They've already shown it. This is just a team that needs experience. Do they need a Derek Favors, like, not Derek Favors specifically because they've already had him in their ranks, but a Derek Favors like player on their bench that they can just throw out there? I don't know. A lot of teams operate with this mentality of like, we gotta stack our bench with a Tristan Thompson just in case, a break-in class. And it's just like, you lose so much, you lose so much to gain something. I'm not really sure, but yes, I think a serviceable big on your bench in place of Josh Giddey would make sense. Which means right now, if they could trade Josh Giddey for like the 14th or 13th or 12th pick or something, and just pick up like a ready-made big who could just come in and bang bodies, but it's like that's not that easy. Um, I wonder if at some point, some point, they would consider moving off of some of their prospects because they're not gonna be able to pay all these guys or develop all these guys. And I wonder how people feel about Usman Jang. Just again, probably not a good thing if the team, that is known for developing and drafting, high end talent gives up on a player, but you just never know. Um, Gone saying LMAO, just watched your last live. I wonder if he'll ever show up to debate you. Yes. Um, so here's the thing. I was not particularly proud of that last live. I gotta be honest. Like the tail end of it kind of went off the rails, and I went out into the living room and I told my girlfriend, I'm like, I think I lost my mind. I do not deal well with people comparing Scotty Barnes to Pascal Siakam. It kind of is like a trigger point for me. Like it's just weird. Like I don't know why it is, but it's just something in my brain just does not operate well when I hear that comparison. Like it's not a comparison to me. Um, that being said, I should be able to say, "That's your opinion, let's move on." But instead, I said, "You're the stupidest person on earth." So I apologize. I definitely crossed the line there. My bad. I need to be better. Um, Biombo should have gotten a shot, but it's like, dude, like, where does your spacing go for Shea? Like, your offense has to operate, and they have these very gifted. Look, I think Jalen Williams, J Will, not J Dub, was great this series. I think he had like a lot of really positive things. His energy was awesome. Just an infectious big. Like I would love that guy on the Toronto Raptors. I think he's friggin' awesome. Uh, Jaden saying Aaron Gordon compared himself to Scotty too. Yeah, I mentioned this in the last lab, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but a lot of people have compared themselves to Scotty. Draymond has, Magic has. I'm sure Kevin Garnett has at some point. A lot of these guys have compared themselves. You can't just take the lowest hanging fruit and just say, okay, well, Aaron Gordon compared himself to Scotty. Okay, well, here I am. I'm going to compare myself to Scotty. Is Scotty a podcaster now? You know what I mean? Like seeing yourself. Most of these people are doing this as a compliment, not as an insult. I mean, Aaron Gordon is comparing himself to Scotty Barnes as a compliment. I think he's comparing himself as a compliment. He doesn't think down of himself, and Aaron Gordon's a hell of a player. I just happen to think Scotty Barnes is a much better player than Aaron Gordon and will be a much better player going forward. That's it. That's all it is. 2016 Biombo was him. Yeah, and he overpriced himself. Anyways, on to the rest of the games tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be stress. So we are afternoon. We are doing Indiana, New York. We'll do a post game after that, just to, I mean, people can sort of laugh. Super chat here from John Lemg, Nick Batum. I think he means Nick Batum, like Nicholas Batum. Would be good for them. Um, yeah, I guess. I think, here's the thing. Sam Presti's not an idiot. Mark Dagnall's not an idiot. Shea's not an idiot. No one in that organization, frankly, is an idiot. They're all very smart people. They chose to roll into the playoffs with minimal backups when it comes to, bigs. And they sort of forced their hand. They said, okay, we're going to roll with Chet and Jalen Williams. We believe in these guys. They need the reps. They need to get stronger, etc. If I'm Chet Holmgren, and I'm sure this is exactly what he's going to do, he's in the gym tomorrow working so that what happened to him in this series never happens again. You got to take these lumps. You got to go through this process. You can't do what the Raptors did. You can't just speed it up, trade all your picks for Thaddeus Young and Jakob Pertl. Okay. Like you got to go through this. At some point, however, you do walk a tightrope where you say, yes, we have a top 5 player in the NBA in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and we have an obligation to that top 5 player to not waste his prime. And he is very much in his prime right now. So, he has obviously been patient with a small market team, very humble of him. He's never made mention of needing help. He didn't do the Tyrese Halliburton thing where the first inkling of success he said, he starts demanding, that his GM trade half the roster. Look, I don't know where I sit on this personally. I'm not necessarily against guys demanding that they get help. I'm not necessarily opposed to Tyrese Halliburton going up to Kevin Pritchard and saying, "Get me some help. I'm ready to win now. Go get me Pascal Siakam. I don't care if it costs us Buddy Hield. I don't care if it costs us Bruce Brown, et cetera, et cetera." I'm not necessarily against that, but I am very much for a player like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who's willing to give the young teammates around him time. And it's very interesting. Here's something. Shay's a great leader. Like, he's super mature. Like, every comment, every person that's ever met him that I've talked to about this, or every time I watch him do an interview, I am always floored by how incredibly composed, remarkably mature, and how hardworking and humble he is. So I'm very proud, like, of that aspect of him. And I will say this, um, he said something along the lines of, "We are all leaders," right? Like, I trust these guys to be leaders. Like, I don't need to say shit to them, like, they're leaders. And ironically, Nikola Jokic also operates with that mentality. So it's very interesting that I was critical of Scotty Barnes earlier this year when he said the same thing. I found it kind of like off-putting. I was like, no, 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 you should embrace this leadership tag. There are not 10 presidents, etc. Um, I'm not sure where I fall on that now either. Because on one hand, I'm seeing, the OKC Thunder, and it works. It works. Everyone kind of accepts that Shea is the guy. No one is butthurt over it. The ball finds him when it needs to find him. I don't see guys hijacking the offense and freezing him out of the offense. Um, and I also see them being a very functional group that everyone is growing and maturing. Like, nobody is, like, I'm sure that Chet is being enabled to be himself, and Jalen Williams is enabled to be himself. And I feel like if you have the right group of guys, you have the right coach that kind of has their pulse of the team, then it works. If you have headstrong personalities, well, like Dennis Schroeder and Fred VanVleet, well, then you need to put the hammer down sometimes. So it's I'm not really sure which side I stand on. Um, Jaden says a true leader leads by action, not by words. I feel. Hmm. I feel like words are an action. You know what I mean? Like, Kevin Durant is a great example of a guy who's had a lot of, locker rooms in disarray around him. Now, is that luck? Is that bad luck? Is that him? They say if you have four bad roommates, you're the bad roommate. Um, to what are the odds? That's so many drama filled situations have followed Kevin Durant from every step of the way. Why is it that Kevin Durant entering your team is like an automatic hit on your you know on your chemistry? I think he's a fantastic dude. From everything I've heard about him, he seems like a great guy, works really hard. Why is it that chemistry becomes so difficult with him? Well, is it the raised expectations of playing on Kevin Durant's team and suddenly expected to be a title contender? Maybe. Is it the fact that he's a little too loose with his teammates and he doesn't necessarily corral them in when he needs? I don't know. There's different leadership styles that have worked. There's a very, very tough leadership style where, the leader berates you, like Michael Jordan, or and there's that kind of guy. And then there's a completely different style, like a Tim Duncan, where he's not like that. And he's a great leader too. So I don't know. Me personally, as a leader, just like trying to understand my own exploration of this topic, having tried to become a better leader and a better leader over the last 17 years now, I can tell you that the best leaders in the world are equal parts mother and father. They have both. So they have the ability to understand you and empathize with you and listen to you, but they also have the ability to, tell you the truth and be very hard with you and, push you and drive you. And it's like, I'm not saying mother and father in terms of gender roles. I'm talking mother and father in terms of feminine and masculine energies. Um, you need both. You do need both. It's very I feel this to be true on a film set. I feel this to be true in a corporate boardroom. I feel this to be true on the basketball court. You need both. And really, like, a great leader is a listener. There's someone who has a pulse on their team. They know that this guy, he's not going to react with me telling him good job. If I tell him good job, he's going to have the shittest game of his life next game. I got to be real tough with this guy and say, try to do it for two. but otherwise he's gonna lose focus. It's about protecting your young players too, but also not letting them get soft. It's about telling guys what they need to hear, not what you want to tell them. And knowing what someone needs to hear. It's like you can't just walk around the room and be like, I worked hard, you gotta work hard. People tune you out real quick. It's kind of like I think that's what happened with Fred VanVleet in Toronto. It's not like he's a bad leader. I mean, I just don't think he has like I'm sure he could lead. I'm sure if Fred VanVleet coached like a high school team, that high school team would do really well. You know what I mean? Like the dynamic, you can't be that stubborn though. Like you have to be malleable. You know what I mean? Like sometimes being a great leader means letting someone teach you too. You know what I mean? Like putting yourself in that situation where someone is able to teach you and changing your mind. There's so many qualities that make a great leader. Part of it is lead by example, yes. But what would you do if every single day your parent came up to you and said, "Save your money, work really hard," and they were like bums who just bought shit all the time and never saved anything. You know what I mean? You need both. But you can't be silent about it either. I think sometimes you do need to speak up. Anyways, to get on to the playoff series tomorrow, I think the Knicks are in for a fight, and I think they're ready for one. You know, I think they. I'm trying to think like which of the two road teams do I think has a better chance at an upset. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I could give you a clear answer and say like, oh, it's going to be Indiana or it's going to be Minnesota. Damn, bro. Can you imagine if both road teams win? Oh, really? That'll really tank. That'll really tank everything. Crimson Chin saying Knicks are in a tough spot. They've shown that they are fully capable of winning. Um, the problem is I don't trust the Knicks physically right now, right? I just don't. And I don't trust the Pacers mentally right now. I don't. So it's really like, who do I trust less? What do I trust less? Do I trust the Knicks running out of live bodies and just running out of steam? Or do I trust that the Pacers simply do not have what it takes to mentally compete in a game 7 when things get really tough and physical, right? I just don't know which of those two. I think with the Denver and Minnesota thing, I try to sometimes, imagine an outcome. Like today, for instance, I tried to imagine prior to the game. This sounds very like floofy, but like I tried to imagine before the game. I was like, imagine how a a a Denver like a Dallas win would look, and imagine how OKC loss would look or OKC win would look. And it's like OKC is going to fight. OKC is going to fight. They're not going to get blown out of this game. The only guarantee that I knew going into this game was that OKC was not going to get blown out. Like that was it. That was like the only thing that I could never imagine is like you know what I mean? Sometimes you intuitively have to say, I'm imagining in my head OKC Thunder down by 14, 15, 16, 18 points in the fourth quarter as Shai is looking off in the distance. I'm like, that's not going to happen in this game. It can't. Now you say, well, it could. And I'm like, bro, it's not happening. This team competes. They compete really hard. They're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to live with us feeling all summer that they just beat themselves and they just didn't show up. They're going to show up in this game and they're going to punch really freaking hard. So I thought to myself, probably one of two things is going to happen. The Dallas Mavericks are going to win, or the OKC Thunder are going to win in a blowout and then lose in game 7. And at halftime, I was right. I was like, boom, that's what's happening. OKC Thunder are, they're going to win in a blowout. And then the Mavericks just responded. And the Mavericks they had a change of heart at halftime. They were like, nope, all those soft ass physical, the physicality and stuff and all the complaining and all the stuff that we're doing, we're going to cut that out for the most part. And we're just going to fight and we're going to blast this team with as much energy as we can. We do not want this to go to a game 7. Somebody clearly changed the energy in that locker room. They came out of that team. They came out of that halftime huddle, a completely different team. Okay. So tomorrow, can I imagine the Indiana Pacers blowing the Knicks out by like 25 points in Madison Square Garden. No, not in a fucking million years. I cannot imagine that. I can't. But could I imagine them winning on like a buzzer beater as the Knicks are just like exhausted? Yes. Yes, I can. So I can imagine that. Same thing with Minnesota. Can I imagine Minnesota getting like a blowout victory in Denver? No, I don't. So this is not going to look like game 2. But could I imagine them winning on like a really hot shooting night from Anthony Edwards and like a crazy, crazy defensive effort from Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert and like some insane shooting from Karl-Anthony Towns and some really cold shooting on the other side from Jamal Murray, where Nikola Jokic has like 25 points, 27 points, and 13 rebounds or something. Can I imagine that situation? Yes, I can. So I can imagine the Knicks losing close, and I can imagine the Denver Nuggets losing. Yes. But that doesn't change the fact that my most likely outcome in this series is that Denver wins by at least 5 or 6 points tomorrow. Maybe more, probably more. And New York wins close. So I think it'll be close. New York, Indiana. I don't think the Knicks have the firepower to just blow them out. But I think you'll know in the first quarter. I really do. I don't think this is the type of game that's gonna swing the way this game did. I think it's gonna be like the Knicks are just gonna come out with the energy of 1,000. Look, man, I gotta tell you, like if the referees decide to call fouls, like chippy fouls on the Knicks and whatever, they can really take them out of this series. But if they let that game be physical, the Knicks will win that game. I don't care how hot shooting, all that stuff. You know what? And there's the thing. I say I don't care about hot shooting, but I do care about hot shooting. The Pacers can get completely unconscious from 3. They can get really paced up and down. And like a lot of this series has come down to, which Tyrese Halliburton are we going to get? Are we going to get like, passive, unassertive Tyrese Halliburton? So, yo, man, like the series is on him and Pascal, because whichever way you spin it, no matter how high you are on Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and, whatever, even no matter how high you are on OG Anunoby, I love OG Anunoby. 2 of the best 3 players in this series play for the Indiana Pacers. You do have a chance. The reason you haven't had a chance in the games you've lost is because Tyrese Halliburton has not been one of those 2 players. Josh Hart has been one of those 3 players, right? So that's the problem, right? Like for the Indiana Pacers, if Tyrese Halliburton shows up, then Jalen Brunson's going to have a pretty great game, and Isaiah Hartenstein and Josh Hart are pretty much going to have to collapse their lungs to win this game. Jaden saying MSG will be on fire. I agree, it will be on fire. John Lyman with another super chat. I really appreciate these, man. By the way, Jalen Brunson in 2019 as a role player, I thought maybe one day if he's lucky, he can average 16 to 17 points per game, but never in a million years I thought he would get to a level like this. Me neither. Me neither. I never thought he can get to this level. Like I thought he could be a really good starter. And I think like when I was doing all my Fred VanVleet stuff, I said he's not as good as Jalen Brunson, but he wants more money than Jalen Brunson, etc. I kept using Jalen Brunson as a benchmark for his next contract. Now, stupid me, Fred gets way more money than Jalen Brunson now. But I think that it's worth noting that, Jalen Brunson had like a lot of positive attributes. Like he's a super hard worker. He's very physical. He's a little bit bigger than Fred, and he was a good paint finisher. And he's a good playoff performer. He showed it in his last series with the Dallas Mavericks, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't sign him. But frankly, happy for all parties involved, right? And wouldn't it be interesting if in a million years this happens? This would be so funny if the Knicks made it to the finals past the Celtics. Now, I do want to say, like we must project forward. So as much as I want to say tomorrow is a toss-up with the slight edge going to the home teams, there's of course the playoff series after that, which are really like, this is like where a lot of casuals start tuning in because it's like, okay, it's down to 4, right? Who's going to win now? If OG Anunoby comes back for the Knicks, I feel like they will give the Boston Celtics the most competitive series they've played so far. Will it be a New York win? No. But New York versus Boston is like ratings dream, okay? When it comes to marquee franchises in the NBA, like Okay, on the other side, you have Denver versus Minnesota, Minnesota versus Dallas, whatever. You have Dallas versus Denver, Dallas versus Minnesota. This is not the big market, marquee thing. But having two legacy franchises like the Knicks versus the Celtics in the freaking Eastern Conference Finals, this is a win no matter which way you go, but probably a bigger win if the Knicks make it to the finals. That would be a draw, but it would not be close. The Knicks would not sniff any team coming out of the West. And frankly, I have my doubts about the Celtics beating a team from the West either. However, Dallas versus Denver or Dallas versus Minnesota, I gotta say, um, I do feel um, the Dallas and Denver, sorry, Dallas would be favored over Minnesota and Denver would be favored over Dallas. Now, some people would say that's crazy. Some people would say, definitely Minnesota should be favored over Dallas. Um, but I think Dallas has like a level of shot making, and unless Kyrie goes like super cold from the field, I think like this, apart from his struggles with foul trouble tonight and shot making tonight, PJ Washington emerging as his third guy, and Derek Jones proving to be Derek Jones would be the best perimeter defender on the Denver Nuggets. Is that crazy to say right now? How much could they use him right now off their bench? Think about it. How much could they use PJ Washington? How many Dallas Mavericks will be playing for the Denver Nuggets right now in their rotation? Like 7 or 8, probably. Like this is just a deeper team, right? I'm pretty sure at this point Dante Exum would be playing significant rotation minutes, given how depleted Denver is in terms of depth. So there is that advantage where Minnesota has had this deeper bench with Kyle Anderson and Nikhil Alexander Walker, and obviously the sixth man of the year. And I just don't think like with Derek Lively and you'll still have a depth advantage because they have like a really deep bench, but I think like it balances out a little bit. Then it comes down to who has the best player. And once again, I do believe that the Dallas Mavericks have the best player. And unlike with, what you've been able to do Jamal Murray, I don't think you can do that to Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. They're on a different level as players. Um, and you have built your entire roster to stop a big. You have these post defenders, you have this interior player, and now you have Luka Doncic, who's just he's not going to be bothered by Rudy Gobert that much, right? So, how much do you think Chet is really bothering Luka's efficiency right now? I'm not saying Rudy Gobert is Chet Holmgren. Like, I get it. There's a gap, obviously, in terms of defensive impact. But I just think that your point of attack defense is going to be stressed so much against Dallas and their shot making and their multiple points of attack with Kyrie and Luka can be so exhausting for a defense to stay on top of. Now, if there is any team that is designed to, match up with them, it's of course Minnesota, but I just think Dallas is just a really, really incredible shot making and scoring team. So I would favor Dallas over Minnesota, and I would favor Denver over Dallas, partially because I just don't think that Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively have any chance in hell against Luka Doncic. And once they don't have a chance, you also have Luka, who's a really weak defender that you can pick on. Kyrie is a much improved defender. I just think like it takes a generational defense to stop a generational offense sometimes. And I just don't think like if I'm betting who is going to hurt who more, Luka versus Nikola Jokic, I'm going to pick Nikola Jokic. It's going to hurt you more because he can hurt you in more different ways. So it's going to come down to that, right? And then hopefully Jamal Murray gets a little bit healthy. I think also like tomorrow, one underrated factor is that the Denver Nuggets had 2 days off. That is very, very important rest for a team that is really injured right now. In terms of Jamal Murray, the stinger plus his knee and all that stuff, like all the stuff he's been going through. So, like, I have a feeling Jamal Murray is going to come out with a monster performance. Like, he had a not so great game last game. A lot of talk around him. He's someone who hears the talk. He hears everything for whatever reason. He hears it. He channels it. And unlike those guys who get rattled by what they hear, he channels what he hears really well into positive production. So I expect him to have a big game tomorrow. Once he gets going, you can't double Jokic as much. Your whole defensive principles fall apart. And on the other side, I don't really think Minnesota has like a necessarily like a great counter to what they did to Anthony Edwards in game 5. They didn't try to do it very much in game 6, but If they start doubling Anthony Edwards, I don't think he's nearly gifted enough as a passer to make them pay for it, especially if they do it high and if they do it fast and if they're decisive and they're controlled in their rotations. Like, I don't think he's necessarily, you know, Mohamed Lay is saying Siakam has picked up his game. Um, sure, yeah. I mean, we can take a look at Pascal Siakam's like overall impact in the playoffs. I think he's been fine. Let's see where are we at with Pascal Siakam the last few games. Um, go here. So, and I think we should also talk about Caitlin Clark at some point because she is massively, massively struggling through her first 2 games. Do you know that Caitlin Clark over her first 2 games has negative 0.3 win shares? That's hard to do. That's really hard to do. Like, her analytical profile might be the worst in the she's like the worst player in the WNBA through the first 2 games. Now, obviously, that's stupid, right? She's obviously very, very over leveraged. Her usage is crazy. It's like 31% usage, 31% turnover rate. Like, it's insanity. But yeah, let me see like how his playoffs are racking up to his typical playoff numbers. Let me just see like per 100 possessions this year versus the last year with Toronto. So he is scoring at a higher rate for Indiana than he has ever scored in his life per 100 possessions. He is rebounding at the highest rate since when he was a rookie, which he played 2 games in 10 minutes. So this is the best rebounding performance he's ever had. In terms of advanced stats, like, I mean, he has been a 2.4 box plus minus guy. This is the first time in the playoffs since his rookie season when he has been a negative defensive box plus minus guy, and that is surprising nobody at all. But this is his highest offensive box plus minus playoff postseason so far. Through 12 games, this is the best he's ever looked offensively, which is pretty incredible given who they're facing, right? Like they faced Orlando. Wait, hold on. Who they faced in the first round? They faced Milwaukee, is depleted, but still a modestly decent defensive team. Bobby Portis, Burke Lopez. They're not totally compromised. They're not Giannis. With Giannis and maybe 2 years ago, they're like a great defensive team. They're not a great defensive team right now, but they're a decent defensive team. They didn't go up against themselves, is what I'm saying, right? So for him to be like this good offensively has been, yeah, this is good. And again, win shares per 48. This is the highest he's ever posted in the playoffs. So yes, he has been really, really good. To look specifically series by series. Hold on, just pull up the advanced. There is no team in the league that I have watched less in the playoffs than the Pacers, other than maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think those are the 2 teams I watched the least. When I say I watch the least, I still watch their games, but I don't rewatch them, and I don't watch with like a great deal of interest. Let's see here. So his playoff series, so the Knicks. So the vast majority of the value that we are talking about has come in game 10, which is like the win against the New York Knicks, where they didn't really show up. Then there was, wait a second. What? Yes. And then it was the win in the last game where they didn't really show up. So it's 2 games where I feel like Indiana really didn't, New York really didn't show up those 2 games. Now you can say that's me being a Pascal hater. Did you watch the games? Did you watch the games at all? They were routes. Like, they were absolute routes. Now you can say they were routes because he was so good and he broke them. He broke their energy. He broke their focus. I don't think so. The other, big time games were his first 2 games against Milwaukee. I'm a big proponent in who did you really play. Now, would I be saying that if it was Scotty Barnes? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. I gotta call myself and check myself. When I'm being biased, and maybe if it's like Scotty Barnes going up against like a half injured Atlanta Hawks team in the first round next year or something, and Scotty puts up 30, I'd be like, well, you play who you're in front of. And then if it's Pascal, I'm like, yo, who on the Hawks is supposed to stop him? I'm not blindly hating. I think everyone in the world with eyes would agree that the Indiana Pacers have had a very, very soft schedule so far, and I think that that's fair. I think that's really fair. it will be tested in the next round. If they make it past the Knicks, I promise you, if he does this against Boston, if he continues even some semblance of this, I'm not talking 2.4, 2.5 Boston minutes, just hold even. Just don't have stinkers. Don't disappear for large stretches of the game. I'll give him his flowers for sure. Also worth noting, he had a pretty decent playoffs the last time the Raptors were in the in the playoffs against. He had a very, very bad couple of halves, but like overall, his impact was solid. It wasn't like super max player, but it was like a solid second star type of impact. Against Philadelphia. Adventures with Smiles. Seattle Curse is still alive in OKC. That's what they get for corrupt takeover owner, shady character. I disagree. I first of all don't necessarily think I'm believing curses, but also if there is a curse on OKC, yo, where can I sign up for that shit? Because that team is batting 1,000 since they've moved to OKC, man. Like when they were trying to win, they made it to the finals as the best young roster in the NBA. And oh, woe behold, when they parted out that young roster, they have now rebuilt they rebuilt the whole thing all over again. You just replace the faces. You change James Harden to Jalen Williams. You change Kevin Durant to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. How did they do it twice? You know how hard it is to be this good at drafting players? Like how hard it is to accumulate 35 draft picks. Yo, Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster could try for the next 5 years. They could part out every single player on their roster other than Scotty Barnes and not get 35 draft picks the way that this team did. So there's just been like a series of like the OKC Thunder, Sam Presti, even hiring Mark Dagnall. Like, where did this guy come from, right? Like just knowing intuitively that he would be the right voice for this group. They are just so fucking smart. They're so smart. The first two games of the Raptors versus Sixers series, Siakam was trash. Agreed. Looking forward to Luka versus Jokic. Well, we'll see if that happens. If it does happen, I'm sure a lot of people in Serbia and Slovenia will be, warring over whether or not Luka is really half Serbian or whether Luka really should be Serbian or not. Or maybe they won't be. Maybe they'll just be happy that two Balkan heroes are in the Western Conference Finals. If you are someone who's from Serbia or Slovenia, I opt for the second door, not the first. Just be happy that your guys are doing well. Yeah, I mean, in terms of, and then of course in the finals, I pick whoever comes out of the West to beat the Boston Celtics. I don't know, man. I'd love to see the Boston Celtics get Kristaps Porzingis and prove me wrong, and finally hoist it. It'll be nice to see them get over the hurdle. I'm at a point right now where my Raptor fandom is so far and above what any other team out there. So I can't tell you I don't care. Of course I do care. I want Jokic to win his second ring. I want a lot of people to shut up about it. Barring that, it would be nice to see Luka get his first ring. It would be nice to see New York and Jalen Brunson and this scrappy group of players win a championship. It would be great to see the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown finally exercise their playoff demons. There's no losing here. I guess if you could make any possible, like, what would be a loss, it would probably be Indiana winning an NBA championship, because then I'd be like, I would never hear the end of it. I picked them to get wiped by New York, and then they go win an NBA championship. Yeah, I don't think I would ever hear the end of it. So selfishly, I do not want the Indiana Pacers to win a championship. Also, like, my last interaction with their fan base is it's stuck in my brain. Just not happy about that. But I guess it would be nice. They are a team that moves the basketball. They're a team that plays a fun brand of basketball, I guess, if you don't like defense. But hey, man, it would really challenge the narrative that it takes defense to win championships, because that team doesn't play a lick of defense. But I will say this. I feel like my brain is breaking right now because I keep contradicting myself, but that team has dialed in defensively over the last few games. I know they have a reputation of not defending, but time to time, they do offer like a really good defensive performance, and you just think to yourself, shit, do this more often. Like, guys, I've seen games this year, in the playoffs where Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam are way more engaged defensively, and then I've seen games where they just take 14 plays off, and I'm just like, yo, like, you guys are the leaders. You're the max contract guys. You make $90+ million combined. Like, you gotta show up for that on that end of because if those two start guarding, that team would be a really good defensive team, because they put a lot of defenders around those guys to compensate for the lack of defense. I also think, like, regardless of what happens for Indiana tomorrow, and we'll definitely talk about it in the post game for Indiana, New York. This is a very, very, very interesting team, that's coming up in the East, right? Like, you've got Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker. I mean, regardless of how high or low you are on Benedict Mathurin, I'm very high on Jarris Walker and some of their young players, and some of them are playing minutes right now, and they've been very good. Um, they also have a little bit of pick flexibility coming up. They have traded away their 2026 first round picks. They have no incentive to tank ever. So barring an injury or something, this is going to be a playoff team to contend with for a while. And I wouldn't be surprised if the first time the Raptors make the playoffs in this Scotty Barnes era that they're going up against either New York or Indiana. It's almost a certainty at this point that that's going to happen. If you're not going up against one of those teams, you're going up against Philadelphia. So there will be familiar faces scattered throughout. You're either playing your old coach, your old friend OG, or your old franchise player in Pascal Siakam. It'll be interesting for sure. Adventures with Smiles. The future of the Raptors is so bright and so much better since the moves got made. I've erased the second half of the season from my brain. Yeah. Vegan Grass. A healthy Knicks team can win the East. Let me think about that. Mitchell Robinson, Randall. Yeah, maybe they could. Defensively, if OG could do a number on Tatum and Hart and Hartenstein, and like they could just overwhelm them with size and depth and whatever, and just pray that the Celtics just kind of collapse. But obviously, the Celtics are firing. I think the Celtics are the better team. They would have like the best player in the series, regardless of how people feel about Jalen Brunson. I still think Jason Tatum's a better player. Not by much, but he's still a better player. I swear they would be finals bound with Udoka. The Knicks with Ime Udoka. I don't know if that's a compliment to Ime Udoka or an insult towards Tom Thibodeau, but it's interesting. I had a really negative take about not Tom Thibodeau the other day on Players' Choice, where I was saying like, hey, like he's running these players into the ground. It's exactly what he did in the Chicago Bulls, et cetera, et cetera. But it's interesting to note that OG Anunoby played fewer minutes per game with the Knicks than he did with the Raptors under Darko Rajakovic and Nick Nurse. So that's worth noting. It just feels crazy because he has these games where he plays them 44 minutes, but then the next night they play like 29 and it balances out. You know what I mean? I just feel like a lot of teams don't go into this 45, 46, 48 range. And he does. He doesn't care. If they're injured, they're injured. You just play them. I just don't like how he runs guys into the ground. I agree. Are you going back on Players' Choice anytime soon? Probably, maybe. I have no idea. It's maybe for the draft. I have no idea. Yeah. All right, guys. That's it for me. Really good chatting. We'll do 2 lives tomorrow. Game 7. I'm nervous. Let me know, once this video drops, who your picks are for tomorrow. I'm very curious to see if we are right as a community. It is difficult to predict a game like this or a series a series of games like this because shooting variance plays such a large part in NBA basketball, right? It's not quite as simple as we're going to put it down to Ewing, we're going to put it down to Shaq, and they're going to go to work, and then no one's going to be able to stop them, etc. There's so many shooting events, right? Compound that with 3-point shooting, and you just say the team that has the hot shooting is going to win. You know what I mean? The OKC Thunder did so much to win this game, from Shai having a big game to, really just not turning the ball over. But then, the variance factor of shooting just goes into Dallas Mavericks' favor. I mean, they even had the refs on their side. I'm just going to say it straight up. Like, the NBA wanted a game 7 here. Like, they can't like rig the games, but they can definitely stress certain things. You know what I mean? Tim Donaghy's talked about this as well. Like, they stress certain things. They love game 7s. Game 7s are great for ratings. They're great for ratings. Competitive series are great for ratings. My question to the NBA is as follows. If the average margin of victory is 20 points, then what the fuck does it matter if it's a game 7? I don't care. Every other day I'm watching a team get beat by 25. I don't care about these games. Tonight's game was awesome. Watching a team get beat the way the Dallas Mavericks did in the first half, then come back, rally back, huge shot making from Luka and Kyrie, and just like tremendous physicality and effort and defense, etc. And both teams just trying their best. That's what makes that's what makes games competitive. Do you think Reggie was subliminally talking shit about LeBron with his comments? Yes, he has been doing it all playoffs. He had a comment. Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller had a comment about LeBron James. I'll share with you what the comment was because it's stuck on my brain, like it's tattooed on my brain. So after, I want to say game 3 or game 4 of it was game 4. So after game 4 of the Timberwolves, after game 3 of the Timberwolves and Nuggets, in which the Timberwolves got beat, Anthony Edwards took a tremendous amount of onus on himself, and he just said, "I need to be better. I messed up. I need to show up for my team, etc." When addressing those comments, Reggie Miller said the following. He said, "This is a remarkable amount of maturity for a kid his age. We have some people out here on people's Mount Rushmores who are always blaming other people, blaming referees, blaming whatever. And you've got this 22-year-old. I mean, like, who are you talking about? You're obviously talking about LeBron James. You're not even being subtle about it. Mount Rushmore, that's 5 guys. You're definitely not talking about Bill Russell and Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird or whoever else you're putting whoever else you're putting up there, because none of those guys complain the way LeBron does. So, okay, we get it. Reggie Miller has some issues with LeBron. Cool. I don't care. Fuck do I care? Do you think Jack Armstrong would fit in as a head coach? For who? No, not at all. Not even a little bit. Are you going to watch any post-game interviews? That would be a great idea. Shit, I should do that. Good suggestion. Let's do that. Hang on. Pull it up, download it, bring it up. I was supposed to do that and I completely forgot about it. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? Y'all want to go to Dallas first, or want to go to Luka and Kyrie? I don't know. Or Jason Kidd? I don't know. Let's see here. Okay. Boom. Let's get to this. Yeah, let's go to the winning team, and then we'll see if we can get up the OKC Thunder. I apologize to anyone who left 10 minutes ago when I was trying to end this live. Apparently, we're going a little bit longer. Tariq, are you a Reggie Miller fan growing up? I grew up in New York, buddy. Of course, I'm not a Reggie Miller fan. I appreciate him, though. I like players who shoot well.
Fish. That was all. Oh, that's the way you. What happened? That was the old one.
Yeah.
Damn that.
Kyrie, how much fun did you guys have out there tonight, and how were you able to pull that one out?
I think it was fun once the game ended. It was so many high emotions going out there, and I mean, being down 17 in a closeout game isn't a position you want to be in, but that's where we found ourselves. So we had to respond the way we've been responding all season, just playing hard-nosed basketball on the defensive end and getting out in transition and just trusting that our pace will get us back in the game. So definitely feels good to get the series done, and now we can reflect on and see how we improved as players and as a team and as coaching staff and as organization. So I'm appreciative of it.
What can you say about PJ? He was scoreless through the first 3 quarters, and then 9 points there in the fourth.
Yeah, I don't think it mattered to PJ too much. I think he was just waiting for his moment, and he's played well majority of the series. So we had some confidence in him that eventually he would make some big time shots, and grateful that he knocked them down. Man, that's just pure confidence and belief.
this question is for both of you. You guys have been down before in the Clippers series and now tonight. Just what makes this group so resilient that you're able to come back and overcome a large deficit?
I think we just stay together. We always talk on the bench, stay together, positive energy, and today was a pure example of it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's good. Good answer.
Question for Kyrie. End of the game, you finish up your ESPN interview. You give your shoes to the fan. I think you got your dart and you're walking off. All the fans are surrounding you, phones out, cheering you on. I'm just curious, how special are those moments to you in your career?
I mean, just that whole walk-off, hugging my family and then going and hugging some more of my family in the locker room, everybody cheering for each other. And I had to make an impromptu speech, and I was doing my best not to let some tears come down from my eyes because it feels like it's been a long time coming, just being back in this position, getting back to the, finals or the conference finals. It was just a long way back, and I look back at parts of my career where I took it for granted, just getting to the conference finals, for 3 years straight, and then not getting back for a little bit, to weigh on you as a competitor. So I'm grateful that I had these guys beside me and kept feeding me confidence and, kept doing the little things for one another. And I think that's what, made the celebration feel that much better. So when I get a chance to hug on my family after the game and you just realize that it is just a game. It means a lot to us. We all love it. And that's the connector. But once the buzzer goes off, then, we're back to regular life and we can still celebrate the things that we're accomplishing.
For either or both of you guys, but, you guys have been talking about Derek Lively, all season, how impressed you are with him. Has he ever stopped impressing you, especially on a night like tonight?
No, it was amazing. I see here plus 25, 26. In a playoff game, it's insane, man. He's doing this while being a rookie. He has an unbelievable potential. I'm just glad the Mavs drafted him. Very happy. No. Duke.
In the series win as well. Every other day or so, you're tweeting out, tribes stay together no matter what, and that's a message that resonates even outside of basketball. What would you say to those young kids that are trying to find their tribe and, how to do that importantly?
I would say, when I tweet those things, it's not just for, basketball fandom or just my family at home or family internationally. I think it's just for humanity in general. And I know how big this platform is. I don't say this arrogantly, but I know how big my presence is alongside my teammates whenever we go out and represent our respective countries, our ethnicities, our nationalities, our cultures. We're bigger than basketball players here. We understand that. But when we go out and compete, whether we win or lose, people take those emotions home with them. And so I just try my best to send out a peaceful tweet to let everybody know, just don't panic, stay poised, and we'll get back on the winning track. And when I say winning track as well, applied to basketball, I'm really applying to life. Just stay together, keep seeking the truth, and keep God first. That's always been the mentality, so I love to share that, especially through a tough series like this where everybody's wondering, what are these tweets coming from? What are they about? And, some people are going to dissect them, but it's really just about the young kids at home understanding that they have older generational leader that's looking out for them and letting them know, hey, this is bigger than the game itself. Just stay together, stay poised, and keep enjoying life, man. The game goes on.
Oh, Luka, if you got that mic fixed.
The long answer.
Could you the rebounding was awesome, and generally speaking, but in particular the offensive rebound PJ got, and I think he kicked it out to you. Just talk about hitting the 27 second chance points and all. There's the huge rebound.
I mean, 27 is amazing. It means our passion and our energy was at the high level. Everybody was concentrated. We said at the halftime we're not going back to OKC, so that's what we did. We stayed together, as I always say, and playing with energy. That rebound, the PJ guy, I remember. And then I draw and he hit the three. It was a huge moment in the game. It was a momentum change, and it was very, very huge at the end of the game.
Luka, you obviously shot the ball well these last couple games, but for a lot of the series, it was a struggle for you to get in your normal kind of groove. What's it mean to you for you guys to be able to win a series, when it was a struggle for much of it for you?
I mean, we won the series. That's what it matters in the end. We won 4-2, being not home. We didn't have home advantage, which is great. And I mean, it's great that we won. But just struggle is gonna come. You gotta stay positive and keep hoping. You can impact the game other ways, not just by shooting poor or good.
And Kyrie, what was the gist of your impromptu speech post game? What was the gist of? You said you made an impromptu speech in the locker room. What was the gist?
I'm sure it'll be on social media or something like that, man. So I don't think there's any more privacy to it. But my teammates know. Just again, I was trying to hold back the emotions just because of how hard and tough this series was, and I think we really got to appreciate each other's talents and skill sets, and most importantly, our will. Got a lot of guys that love to compete, a lot of guys that want to see each other do well and are willing to sacrifice and do the little things in order to get wins. So I think we're continuing to prove that. Obviously, the job's not finished, but feels good to be in the conference finals, to be, the last four remaining teams, right? Eventually, just you don't want to take those moments for granted because no guarantee that you get back. So,
Luka, there's not many guys left over here. There's not many guys left on the roster that was with you the last time you made this stage. They go out last year and get Kyrie. Then the front office recognizes they've got two all-star guards in their primes, and they go out and throw 2 first-round picks to really just fortify this group. How much has it meant to you to see this organization continue to add pieces to really support someone like yourself?
Big time. You can see this group has been together for like 5 months. Like I say, we're capable of more and more, I think. But just big time trades, big time adjustment, and keep bringing them. I mean, whatever. I'm tired, man.
So this is a question for both of y'all, Luka, Kyrie. Y'all saw the doubters that were saying that y'all wouldn't work. Kyrie, a couple months ago, you talked about the D grade that ESPN gave y'all. Could y'all talk about just... D? Yeah, they gave him a D rating for the trade from the Nets. So could you?
Hey man.
Yeah, I wanted to ask y'all how
into All-Star game to be
how does it feel to prove the doubters wrong?
I don't think we care. We enjoy playing with each other. We enjoy playing with this team. So we don't really care what other people have to say.
Along those same lines, Luka, as a brother and as a teammate, what does Kyrie mean to you? Kyrie, as a teammate and a brother, what does Luka mean to you?
We're getting emotional now.
Like you don't talk about it.
Go
ahead, man.
Yeah, because you get the long speeches. Big time, man. When he came, nothing but supportive of everything I did, everything we did. But just it helped me mature a lot. I realized to see the game in a different way. And obviously in the court, it's amazing to play with a guy like him. Like I said, just go out there, enjoy. And the leader he's been for us, not just for me, but for us, he's been amazing. Always positive energy.
Yeah, I just think this guy next to me has pushed me to continue to work on my game and continue to develop as a young leader. And I think the big word that we both can agree on is just maturity. Coming into Dallas, I was dealing with a lot mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and they embraced me with open arms. I don't have a perfect journey, so coming into this environment, I was unsure of how we were going to work out on the court, but off the court, I knew eventually that I would get him to open up. This guy's a big teddy bear at times off the court, big competitor. Okay, I'll say a teddy bear that likes to compete. He's still ducking me in dominoes, but I think at times, I just have to sit back and marvel at his talent and his ability to get outside his comfort zone. And, I enjoy watching him be a father. I enjoy watching him, develop as a person first, and then the basketball stuff will take care of it. We all know how skilled he is. We all know his numbers and stuff like that. But I want to be a teammate and a brother next to him that helps him grow as a man and helps him achieve the things that he wants to achieve. And I know he feels the same way. So the mission is still the same for us. And when we step on that court, we enjoy competing with each other. And the times that you guys don't get to see is the times we get to compete against each other on the court in practice, which we just laugh and joke and we work out together. And we know that this dream of ours started when we were a kid. So to connect like this on this level, I'm 32. He's a young 25, 26.
24.
So he's still growing.
No, 25.
He's 25, 26, 27.
20.
The beard makes him older, so. But no, he's just a good kid, man. Good human being, good young man.
Luka, I wonder if there's anything that you could have maybe taken from the 2022 run, because when you guys reached the conference finals, it had been the first time for the franchise in 11 years. It seemed like there was a sense of happy to be here. Do you think there's anything that maybe you can take from, and that is a bigger stage, from playing in that conference finals that you can use this time around?
I mean, yeah. We played the Warriors, I remember. That was tough. That was a tough run. I think we could have won the game 2 there. We kind of got out of our way. We kind of relaxed. But it was tough playing against the Warriors, always on the move. But always say think in the present, don't think in the past. So today is about today's game, and tomorrow we'll think about conference finals when we know who we play. But today, I think we should all enjoy it because this was, I would say, really hard series.
Good.
Kyrie, I know you talked a little bit to Tim about your place in your generation, how you're one of the last stars left in the playoffs. For Luka to now be in 2 conference finals in 3 years,
I'm old.
What does it say about his place in this generation, this new generation?
Luka?
Yeah.
I talked about it, just this younger generation, and how they have no fear. They don't see the OG superstars as guys that they look up to as much anymore. They want to kill our records. They want to kill us every time they get on the court. And that was the first thing I noticed about Luka is that he just had no fear going against the best of the world, and he always walks around like he's the best player in the world. And I think that's the confidence of a champion. That's where it starts. And we want to continue to. Hey, it's okay, Elo. We just want to continue to give each other that confidence, and as we watch them grow, just give them that grace. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to fail at the biggest stage. He's done that already, making it to Western Conference Finals, and now he has a veteran next to him, a few veterans next to him. It's a different run. I think that team in 2022, I have a lot of respect for that team. They were happy to be there, but I think he knows our approach is job's not finished, and we got to get back to work after we get rest, and we got to get back on that court. Continue to condition ourselves mentally and physically and just get prepared. So we know the goal that we have at hand. We don't have to overspeak it, but we know how to put it into existence, and that's just putting in the work.
Yes, right here for both of you. Can you give me one word to describe what this comeback was? And can you also just talk about Jason Kidd's ability and coaching that helped you win this series?
Amazing.
Yeah, I would say domination. Yeah. And then with Coach Kidd, he makes our jobs a lot easier. We look over to him during some crucial times, tough times throughout the game, and he just has that point guard's mentality where he just wants us to stay poised and continue to make the right decisions, but also stay aggressive. You don't really see him, getting mad at the shots that Luka takes or the shots that I take. He just wants us to continue to push the basketball, get into our offense, and get back on defense and do the right things. We've built an identity on being honest with each other as well. So I got to give credit to that guy. He shows a lot of love. He keeps us positive, and he's a straight shooter. Thank you. Come on, Yellow.
Can you imagine a basketball conversation between Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, and Jason Kidd? Oh, to be a fly on that wall. Holy shit. The intelligence of these 3 men. Staggering. I think it's something that I think is worth noting. We have a lot of older players who take dumps on the newer generation. They're always talking about how in my day, this guy couldn't do this, and these guys don't know this, and these guys don't deal with contact, and these guys are blah, 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 blah. I've always really appreciated guys like Rasheed Wallace, Kyrie Irving. It's strange. there's certain guys, Kevin Garnett, I think to some extent also gives a lot of flowers. Um, I always appreciated the guys who could give flowers to the people who came after them, right? Like what Kyrie said about this younger generation not being as afraid as his generation was, that's a positive thing. That's something that like that's an uplifting message. Do you know what I mean? Shaquille O'Neal constantly like saying, back in my day, Rudy Gobert would be trash. Who does that help? That helps you. It's very self-serving. And so, for all the flack that Kyrie Irving takes, and some of it is warranted for sure. I've always felt like his heart was in the right place. And that's why I never really ever turned on him. I've defended him at some crazy times in his life. Um, Times where it felt hard to defend him, you know, very unpopular to defend him. I just kept trying to defend the person underneath it because it was just like, yeah, he's different, but I don't think he's saying anything or doing anything that's insidious or wrong or toxic or anything. He's just very different. He's a very different person. He marches to the beat of his own drum. But he's someone who leads with his heart, and I'll always trust people, always respect people who do that, right? Anyways, let's go to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, another guy who, frankly, has a lot of those positive traits of marching to the beat of his own drum and, generally speaking, just being a very mature leader.
Game, an extremely competitive series. Just what was this like battling, one last time this year with your brothers there in that locker room?
It was fun. It's what you live for. It's what you work all summer for. It's what you try to build habits for all season. Moments in games like tonight, it doesn't get much better.
What was your view on the foul late that kind of decided it?
I shouldn't have fouled him. We talk about it all year, the little things that go into winning games and being disciplined, and it sucks. Obviously, if I had the moment back, I wouldn't have fouled him and just let him make or miss the shot. But yeah, basketball, you win some, you lose some, you make mistakes.
Have you seen the replay?
No, I can't look at it. But they looked at it, and I assume I fouled him if they looked at it and still didn't overturn it.
When you say you can't look at it, what do you mean?
I don't want to look at it.
Do you think that'll be perfect?
That has to be the dumbest question. I know I criticize the Toronto media, but that has to be the dumbest question of all time. What do you mean you can't look at it? Like, it's pretty straightforward why he can't look at it. What are we talking about here? Also, just throwing this out there, this is already a Hall of Fame freaking interview in terms of just the accountability and the humility with which he's approaching it. This is freaking awesome. Good job, Shai.
You just don't want to look at it ever, or
I just want to I found him clearly because they reviewed it and I found him, so there's no need to look at it.
Shai, coming off of last game where you got so many good looks, they didn't.
Bro, this guy is like 1 inch away from pulling out his phone, pulling out the replay, and just throwing it in his face. Like, bro, look at it. Look. We want to comment. Fuck. How do these people have jobs?
Go down tonight. They did for you more. I mean, how did it, I guess, operate for you guys to just continue trusting what you had put together last game, knowing that if you stuck with it, you'd get different results to give yourself a chance on the road?
Yeah, it's basketball. You make some, you miss some. You make the right play, the wrong play. But as long as you have the right intentions and you're doing the right things out there on the floor, good things more often than not will happen to you and happen for your team. And it's been like that for us, and that's why we had the year we've had. That didn't go our way sometimes throughout the series, but that's what it's about, getting better from those opportunities.
Could have been the game-winning bucket for you guys as a lob to Chet from you. Obviously, you guys all season long have worked on some of these things and rhythm plays. What was it like, getting to do that here tonight? And it seemed like you guys were able to find Chet over the top quite a bit.
Yeah, it definitely opened things up for us tonight. Kind of Chet being that dunker, making plays at the rim. Obviously, one of his many gifts, but we were definitely able to exploit that tonight.
So just knowing all it took tonight just to get to that point where the foul, the lob, everything, just what does it feel like knowing that the season ended on free throws?
Yeah, it sucks. You wish you could take the moment back, but it's not the way life works. You can't. You just have to learn from it, and I will definitely learn from it.
For you personally, just what do you feel you proved maybe to yourself in this series?
Nothing. My goal was to win the series. Didn't win the series. And that's that, pretty much.
Is it hard for you at this point to take a step back and think about how bright the future still does look, or how do you kind of view what this season means for the long term?
Yeah, we can feel it. We definitely took a step in the right direction this year, to say the least. Now this moment stings. You don't ever want to lose, but there are definitely some good things that come out of it. And moments like this is what makes champions. Guys get better.
Wasn't the most shots you've taken in the game this series, but did you come into this game with empty the clip mindset?
Not at all. I just came into the game trying to play my game, play the right way, and play aggressive.
Total points in this series, despite the series loss, was 636. Have any solace to knowing that y'all were right there in the series?
Say again, sorry?
The total points in the series was 636 through all six games.
Okay.
So does it have any solace knowing that you guys were right there, despite losing 4-2?
Nah, not really. Still stinks.
Shai, you were a young guy and you're
I love that answer too. That is the right answer. There's no right or wrong answer to an opinion, but that is definitely the right answer.
first year rookie season with the Clippers. You played a lot of minutes. You have two guys in Kaysen and Chet who play a lot of minutes for you in this series. Can you just talk me through, evaluate how you think they did?
Amazing. They've been good all year. They haven't felt like rookies with their play on the court. Both those guys are so poised, so mature, and obviously have done tremendous things for our group. We took a big leap this year, and those two have a big hand in it.
Seemed to be Mark's opinion that this series was maybe lost, middle of the series offensively, when you guys kind of struggled to solve their defensive scheme. What do you think you and this group kind of learned through those struggles offensively?
Yeah, I guess how to course correct, and the best teams are able to figure out the issue and fix the problem at a really fast time, and that's what allows you to ultimately win series and win games, whether it be in quarters or in games in a series. You see it all over the league. You just saw it with Denver, their ability to course correct and kind of get the car back on the road. But it's a learning experience for all of us. This is all of our first time being in a series together, so we'll all learn from the experience and get better.
Shai, what was that feeling like just as you see the last shot and miss and just kind of walking off the floor?
It sucked.
But do you want to see a video
the
of
way
it?
it ended, it kind of solely being my fault with the three. It sucks. My teammates did so much throughout the night to get us in the position that we were with that last possession. And little details kind of nipped me in the butt, but I'll learn from it.
Shai, you seem like such a highly motivated person. Does this series add any more motivation to you?
Absolutely. I've always found the most motivation when I lose. You learn the most when you lose. So yeah, for sure. We lost 4 out of 6 games. I don't know if we've done that all season. Didn't feel good, but yeah, I'm definitely motivated. We'll learn from the experience for sure.
The lob to Chet with 20 seconds left, I imagine that'll probably get swept under the rug. History's ours now, but when it happened, what was going through your head in that moment, in that sequence?
Get a stop. That was it. Get a stop, whatever it takes.
Did it feel like that was a heavy blow to the game, to the game's just flow?
You fouling?
No, the lob. Just him finishing the lob, him catching it with one hand, just everything in that moment.
Yeah, it felt good, but I was so on to the next just get a stop. I didn't really get to soak it up, but big time catch and finish by Chet for sure.
The last one, go ahead. This is the last one for Shai.
Felt like every shot was extra heavy down the stretch. Did it feel like that for you guys out there, or were you just have that mindset of shot goes in, get a stop?
Yeah. When you're in the moment, it doesn't feel as heavy. You're on to the next thing to try to win the next possession and ultimately win the game. But yeah, things are obviously heightened in games like this.
Thank you, Shai.
LYON Lions production, I'm assuming, or Leon. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Hey Rob, quick side note. I sent you an email on if you could answer a few questions about Penn Dance Film Festival for a school research project. Thanks. I'm happy to do so. Just let me know when you sent that email. We get a lot of emails. If you sent it to the Penn Dance account, then you can let me know that too. And then, just let me know where it is. And yeah. Oh, yes, that and the info at Penn Dance email. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll make a note of it and hopefully get back to you real soon. Thanks a lot for the super chat, by the way. Really appreciate it here. Okay, let's get to a couple. First, just a quick reflection. I love this dude. Like, I really, like, every time I've ever heard him speak in my whole life, I've always walked away saying, if I ever have kids, I'm going to make sure that they listen to every word this guy says. I'm going to make sure that they have his poster, his jersey. And this is like, you know how like Charles Barkley says, what did he say? He's like, I'm not a role model. This is a role model. Like, this is like, and I have no doubt in my mind at all that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will win a championship at some point. I have no doubt that he's going to win gold medals. He's just a winner. This is what winners sound like. This is what winners do. He is like, his DNA is winning. Everything about him is winning. You know what I mean? Like, if you get it, you get it. If you've been around winners, you know it. This is what winners sound like. In loss, in win, he always keeps it flat. He's great. He's great. Tough. Just heartbreaking for him. I'll admit it. I was rooting for Dallas. I expected Dallas to win. I wanted Dallas to win. It sucks to see this. It sucks. Partially the reason I wanted Dallas to win is because I wanted a competitive series next round, and I did not think that the OKC Thunder had any chance against Luka Doncic. But this is like, yeah, everyone says this, but I don't think this dude's leaving OKC, bro. I think I think this guy's like one of those ride or die types. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay, let's go to Mark Dagnalt and Jason Kidd. I'm very interested to hear the coach's thoughts on this. To those of you who tune out of this part, I fully understand. I'm not telling anyone. I'm not trying to micromanage what people listen to or whatever. But I do think that, especially with like remarkably candid people, and usually coaches can be remarkably candid, and certain players, especially a player like this, can be remarkably candid. You do get a different insight into the game, especially when the media are not idiots and they actually ask good questions, which I think a lot of these questions were good questions. Just not the first one that I trolled, but most of them. Just to keep it ping pong, let's go to Jason Kidd.
Coach, great players. It was not an easy series, but for us, it was a really good series in the sense of staying together. I thought the trust was tested throughout this series. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, all 6 games. But I thought the maturity and trust for the group was high. And different guys stepped up at different points in the series. Also, in tonight's game, wasn't Luka or Kai making the game winner. It was the trust of Luka. The ball touches the paint, they collapse. He trusted PJ. PJ gets fouled. He steps up and makes the free throws, and we find a way to win. But it's, for the coaching staff, they did an incredible job of getting these guys ready to play, and the players trusted the game plan and executed the game plan, and we found a way to win the series.
Jason, you guys were down 16 at the half. It seemed like they had everything going their way. What was your halftime speech like?
Yeah, well, we talked about just the turnovers. That was the first part. The second part was just the trust in that we had to play faster. We were not playing fast enough. Even if they score, we needed to take the ball out and not, look around and walk the ball up. And I thought to start the third, I thought D. Jones got us off to a great start. And then we worked the game, understanding that it wasn't, we were going to, get those 16 points in 2 shots. I thought the group stayed together, trusted each other, and worked the game and got it down to 7 there at the end of the third. And now it's anybody's ball game. And again, our zone created some missed shots and some turnovers, and then we capitalized on the other end. But halftime, it's kind of a cool thing because we just kind of talk, and I thought the group responded again, being down 16, and we knew what we had to do, and we did that to start the third, and we did that for pretty much the whole second half.
PJ, he was scoreless for 3 quarters and just came up with some big points there in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, PJ was well rested. We got to talk about the foul and the hacking out there, but he picked up 2 quick fouls, and so he was rested. But with the beauty of PJ being around him for this short period of time is that his character is like no other. You would have thought he had 30 points tonight. He just plays. He never complains. He's guarding the best player on the other side. There's very few plays ran for him. He just does his job at a high level, and we're very fortunate to have him. But, yes, he didn't have any points going there, and then he knocked down some big shots and then made the free throws. And the biggest play, and it won't go as the biggest play, but to miss the free throw in the proper way without, sometimes we say miss the free throw and we'll just hit the backboard and they get the setup. We didn't want them to set up. They had no timeouts. And so we've learned, not to run away from the ball, but to press the ball, to make the ball go back, and because we've lost the game that way. So a lot of things that we've learned along the way, we were able to execute their late game.
Jason, big question, I guess, but what do you think it says about the franchise's culture that this is your second Western Conference Finals trip in 3 years with 2 very different teams knocking off #1 seeds both years?
Yeah, I mean, we got to build a culture. It was, there's no shots at Rick. Rick did the best he could with the roster that he had. But since we've been here, we go the first year, our defense was incredible. And then our offense, joined the party. We got to learn what it meant to win. Last year was a building year. Every year is not going to be a championship year. It just doesn't happen in sports that way. But I thought Nico did an incredible job this summer, and also since he's been here, putting the pieces together that fit. And then sometimes you just got to give people time, and sometimes we don't. We just rush to the point that we suck or we can't do something, right? Unfortunately, a lot of you are wrong, but that's cool. And we'll see as we go forward. But our goal is to win a championship, and that's what we're trying to do. But sometimes you guys don't see that, and it's all right. You got to do your job because we really don't care. And that's the beauty of our culture, is that we're not affected by what's written negatively. We just go out there and play for each other, and that's what's going to win a championship. And hopefully at the end of time here, we can hold another trophy. I've had that opportunity to do that here. It's incredible, but it is hard. It's the hardest thing to do in professional sports, is to win a championship, because there's only one. No one gets a second place trophy or third place. So our culture is what you see. There's the trust, there's the enjoyment, there's fun. It was kind of cool to see the Oklahoma City fans thought we were shooting half-court shots only because we won. But since we've been here for 3 years, that's what we've done. So we got to make sure when we do right stuff that we get the right things out, to correct things, or we correct the people who are wrong. But I love this culture. This is a great challenge as a coach. I got great guys that I trust and believe in, win or lose, and that's the beauty of the Mavs right now. Yeah.
Lively played 30 minutes today, 12 points, 15 boards. Just how impressive has he been this playoff, and just how difficult can it be for rookie big men when they get to the playoffs for the first time?
Yeah, that's a great point. We just talked about that in the back. There's quite a few guys who have not been in the playoffs, and they've now made it to the Western Conference Finals, and D-Live is one of those. I don't think we took him out in the second half once he entered the game. I thought he did an incredible job of imitating Moses Malone. He grabbed all the rebounds. He gave us second or third opportunities. He competed. And what I love about him is his voice. He's one that's going to talk. He's blocking three-point shots. He is executing the game plan, and he's got to be fun to play with as a teammate because he's fun to coach. And so just the experience of not just D-Live, but Gaff, D. Jones, PJ, those guys who don't have a lot of playoff experience, you could see that that didn't bother them in this round, and you got to go through it, and you got to fail to understand how to be successful in this league. And so I thought D-Live has played incredible. It's easy to say he should start, but he's playing his role for us, and that's coming off the bench and giving us energy and changing shots and finishing in the paint. But I thought he did a great job of stepping up to the free throw line too.
Jason, Luka has now been to the Western Conference Finals twice with very different rosters. As you covered and with Brad's question, there's culture and team and a lot that goes into that. But what does it say about
I sort of hate that got cut off. But I think that was the last question. Also, Lions Prod, while this interview was going on, I responded to all your questions that you sent via the email. I do have access to the info at Pendant's email, so I just sent all of my answers back to you. Let me know if you get it. If you don't get it, check your spam folder. It might be in there. I will send you your consent form that you asked for as well. Probably tomorrow. I hope it's not a rush, but I'll send it tomorrow. I have it on my to-do list. Okay, let's get to Mark Dagnalt, and that will be the end of the live. Okay. This is a 2-minute one, so it's going to be quick.
Progress from the beginning of the season till now, progress from the beginning of the playoffs till now. We're just a more seasoned, more matured, more connected, better, tougher, smarter, we're everything, through the course of the season.
I really wish people would stop telling me I look like him. I don't look like him, bro. Come on. Anyways.
And we talk a lot about growing through experiences. I thought we did that, to the highest degree. And it yielded, obviously, a very successful season, despite not, having a little more success in winning this series.
Despite losing the series 4-2, total points was 636, 636.
Oh my God.
Hearing that does give you any solace that you guys were just right there?
Yo, I got to tell you, this guy spent like a good 2.5 minutes doing all the calculations on this. He tabulated all the scores. And when he saw that was like 636, he's like, this is the most remarkable thing that any human being has ever come up with. I need to ask every person in the world, bro, come on. I mean, I get it, but no one is going to say yes to this. I'd be very surprised if Mark Dagnall says yes to this.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, when I credit Dallas and I say, they were the better team in the series, that was marginal. I didn't think that was domination by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm tipping my hat to them, and they deserve it. But, yeah, we were right there. And, I think, again, that type of that yields a lot of pain when you go through that and you're that close.
Okay, I just want to say, I'm not trying to disagree with a freaking coach of the year, but it doesn't matter. Like, bro, total points across the series, in my opinion, doesn't fucking matter at all. Like, you can argue, yeah, like, it's good to know you were in most of these games, but you lost them, right? Every single game is an independent event. It's not like, oh, you won the first half. Who cares? You know what I mean? This is an entire can of worms. I don't want to get into it, but yeah.
But we have to, turn that into, you got to reinvest that into improvement, individually, collectively. And that's, if you look at any great team, any great player, that's what happens over time. They stumble in these situations. It's very painful, but they learn, they reevaluate, they grow, and they get stronger through these experiences. And that's our challenge now.
Mark, I'm just
Last
curious,
one for Coach.
with such a young team, how do you think they're handling this kind of, defeat and knowing the season's over at this point?
Yeah, I think the age of the team is so tangible. So people drive to that a lot, but they're handling it like any team would. I mean, this is an ambitious team, and it's a competitive team, and it's a connected team. So people drive to that a lot, but they're handling it like any team would. I mean, this is an ambitious team, and it's a competitive team, and it's a connected team, regardless of age. This team has qualities of great teams. And one of those qualities is, very pain, a lot of pain when you lose. So, that's a locker room that's feeling it right now, as it should be, because we laid it all out there in the series and in the game tonight. But that has nothing to do with age. That's just, these guys are competitors, and they've competed together all year. They competed together tonight.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
The OKC Thunder will be back. I expect the OKC Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs to be doing battle with the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves for years and years. I feel bad for every team that's not those teams in the West, because it'll be consolation prizes from here on out. You can add Dallas into that mix as well, provided Kyrie stays engaged, because Derek Lively is a hell of a freaking rookie, man. I just want to say, Derek Lively and Chet Holmgren and Cason Wallace are three of the best rookies in the last 10 years, just in terms of production. I know people will find that hard to believe, but they are. You can say it's because they were optimized in their role, that none of them were asked to do what Cade Cunningham, has to do, or Jalen Green had to do as a rookie, and you can say fine. But how many rookies out there are just substantially willing to come into a situation where they embrace the role of being a role player this early in their careers? All these guys were 27, 28, 30-point per game scorers in high school, 40-point per game scorers in high school. They were the man in high school. They were Mr. Basketball in Minnesota, Mr. Basketball in Louisiana, Mr. Basketball everywhere. So to come in, check your ego at the door, that's a great coaching on both sides, great buy-in, but also great play from these young players. And kudos to Derek Lively, man. Five win shares in 55 games. 5 win shares in 55 games. He was fucking incredible. Incredible. I cannot say enough nice things about Derek Lively. And Cason Wallace, dude, how many of you would be projecting Cason Wallace as a starter for the Raptors if he was on the Raptors? I think most of you would, right? Going forward, at least. Unbelievable pickups. What stings, if you're a Raptor fan, is those were the guys who went pretty much right ahead of you, right, in the draft. If we go back and look at the 2023 draft, those guys were like, what was it, 10, 11, 11, 12, like that. Where the hell, hold on, I'm forgetting. I'm usually pretty good at this. I don't remember this exactly. Hold on. 2023 draft. That's my reference. Okay, final thing we're going to do is we're going to look back at the 2023 draft for a second here, because this is freaking crazy. Stop screen share screen. Okay. So the most win shares in this draft class was Derek Lively, who played 55 games. Need I remind you? 55 fucking games. Crazy. Insanity. Lively, Trace Jackson Davis, Amen Thompson, Brandon Podziemski, Cason Wallace. Top 5 win shares, guys. Dude, to have this many guys in the same draft with positive win share numbers, like relatively, like really good seasons, Tamani Kamara, Victor Wembanyama, Jaime Jaquez as well. Those 8 guys, and you could probably throw in Asar Thompson, who played for the lowly Pistons and still managed to eke out nearly 2 win shares. And that is a pretty decent analytical profile, I'll tell you that right now. If you look at value of a replacement, obviously Victor Wembanyama and Trace Jackson Davis again, but Derek Lively is right up there, nearly 1 VORP. Like, that is a crazy high number for a rookie. Most rookies are negative across the board. It is very, very common, and expect when the Raptors pick a 19th pick, 31st pick, if any of those rookies get anywhere close to these numbers, consider yourself like you've hit a gold mine. These are productive NBA players at the age of 19. Do you know how hard it is to be productive in the NBA at the age of 19? You know how like good? Like look at what's happening to Caitlin Clark in the WNBA right now. Holy crap, right? She will adjust. She'll be fine. I think people are overblowing it a little bit. Don't count out my boy De'Aaron Fox and the Kings. Well, given the fact that they're more than likely to lose Malik Monk, and given the fact that I don't expect some of their problems to go away, I do have some concerns about their ability to hit on upside, especially when teams behind them, like the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs, can actually catch them on talent and cap flexibility. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really trust the Houston Rockets, but they have a top 3 pick again this year to add to a heap of really good young players. Amen Thompson was a really good player. Jalen Green might still turn it around, but Jabari Smith started to turn it around. Cam Whitmore was fire, right? Like Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore. Like, yo, I was not very high on Cam Whitmore, but I can eat. You know, I can definitely admit when I was wrong, and I so far have been wrong about him. I still wouldn't have taken him at 13th. I'm still happy with Grady Dick, but man, like I was wrong for selling that guy. Like he's going to be a top 15 guy in this draft for sure. He might be better. Yeah, this is crazy to see a draft with this many guys who are flashing positive potential here. But I don't think, to those of you who say like win shares are overrated, dude, this guy showed up big time for his team. You can make a case that he was the third best player for the Dallas Mavericks tonight, couldn't you? You could. And let me see like what his numbers look like in the playoffs, because I guarantee you he's still like really good in the playoffs. Let me just take a look at his advanced box score. Damn, homie. Damn. Apart from those 2 games right there, he hasn't really had a bad game all playoffs. So he had a bad game, OKC game 1, OKC game 2. Those are the only 2 bad games. And he played very limited minutes. So notice, like Jason Kidd is not intuitively like watching the box score, but 2 of his lowest minute games came in his 2 worst games. And they went 1-1 in those games, but the games in which they've won, he has been huge. And I have no doubt that tonight this might be his best boxes minus game. Just watching the game, I felt intuitively like it might be his best. So yeah, Derek Lively is awesome. Now watching his success, let that be exactly why Yves Missi is going to fly up draft boards right now, man. Stress as a Raptor fan, stress, because there's this one guy that I really freaking like in this draft, and I am pretty sure that guy is going to be gone well before 19. But if he's there, let it be known I am very much on the train of draft Yves Missi at whatever cost. I don't care who you're picking him over, just pick that guy. I have like, I don't know if I'm just selling myself on it at this point or if it's just becoming crazy, but like I feel like that guy will be successful at basketball at every single level. I think he is just too smart and too gifted to fail, but who knows? And if I think this, then maybe it's possible that someone takes him like really high lottery. I don't know. He might go top 5. I don't know. I don't think he'll go top 5, but honestly, if he continues to impress and someone just sort of like sees shooting potential in him, he go top 10. He should go top 10. I hope he doesn't go top 10. I hope he's there at 19 and we can grab him. But like, I think he goes top 10, top 12, top 13. Like, I think he goes lottery. He's a lottery pick in this draft. He's his Capella. We need floor spacing. I don't think he's Capella. But honestly, bro, if you get Clint Capella at pick 19 in this draft, you kiss the heavens. Like, we don't need, like, you say we need floor spacing. Who are you talking about again, Rob? I'm talking about Yves Missi. Use this Capella. Again, I identified it earlier in my draft live. I don't know if like y'all watched that one, but I identified like there were like 3 types of players. There were the athletic bigs, there were the small older bigs, and then there was like the shot creators. And while I would be very excited to watch a shot creator blossom with a 905 for a year and maybe even turn into something really awesome for the Raptors, I do think the Raptors need like an attacking a guy who really attacks the rim, who has that athletic potential, who has that, because again, like, maybe I'm too much like honed in on trying to replace Christian Koloko, and I think Yves Missi is like the closest thing to that. Um, he's smart, he's fluid, he's an athlete, he's just a lot younger than Christian Koloko. So there's like even more theoretical upside because he's not only did he pick up the game later than Koloko, he only picked up the game 3 years ago, but he's also younger than Koloko coming out because Koloko spent 3 years at Arizona, whereas like he's Missy is like younger. So I don't know, man. I think he has some gifts that are very, very special for a big man, and I don't care about the shooting as much. Like I know, like if you tell me Kalal Ware or Yves Missi, I'll draft one Yves Missi over 2 Kalal Wares any day. And again, this could be a soundbite 2 years from now when Kalal Ware is like, the best big in this draft class, and Yves Missi is like in the G League. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I gotta say, like, I'm just so blown away by him. I've been blown away by him when he was mocked as a second round pick in this draft, a late first round pick. I still kept putting him in the lottery, and now I'm seeing him mocked in the lottery, and I'm like, yep, there's your riser. I felt like that about quite a few prospects in back in the day. I think the last prospect that I really not because they're both from Africa, but Serge Ibaka. Like again, I brought it up a couple of times where watching Serge's, some of his footage was just staggering. Like, this guy's going to be successful. He's too coordinated and too athletic to be. Definitely a soundbite. I see AD and wow, Anthony Davis, bro. That's some next level craziness. I don't see that, man, at all. But who knows? Maybe 6'10" for a center, a bit undersized. I don't think he's undersized at all. No, 6'10" is not undersized for an NBA center. No. Like most centers are set 6'11", 6'10", 6'9". 6'10" is perfectly fine, especially when you couple that with 7'2" and a half wingspan. Like, yeah, Anthony Davis. I'm just like, bro, is he talking about another AD? In today's context, no, I don't think 6'10" is undersized. 6'10" with a 7'2" wingspan is perfectly like, who guards Wemby? Nobody. Nobody guards Wembanyama. If you're trying to get there is a player, I don't know, this is random. But since there is a chance that the Raptors do end up being bad this year, I think they're gonna be good. But if I'm wrong, they're bad. And now they have their draft pick. I'll tell you who I think you should be focusing on a year in advance. And I am very, very impressed with him so far. No, it's not Cooper Flag, although that would be nice. It would be nice to get Cooper Flag, but there is a player in the 2025 draft that I just looked at a couple of days ago, and I was just like really impressed with him. And that was hold on. Right here. Wait, here we go. He'll be playing for Duke next year. Kaman Maluak. He's from Sudan. He's from South Sudan. Sorry. And dude, this guy is so quick, so coordinated. This is someone where if I'm betting on like upside, like this is a guy that I would bet on like for upside. Like this is a guy that I can see flying up to top 5 in this draft. By the time we get to this draft, he might be top 3. Again, could be wrong, basing a lot on fucking 2 scrimmages and 2 interviews, but shit, like I really, really found myself believing in him and believing in his potential. So college basketball is going to be really fun this year. I'm going to watch a ton of Duke, a ton of South Carolina. Did Colin Murray Boyles already go back? I believe he did. That sucks. I would have picked him at 19, no questions asked. That guy's awesome. I don't think he would have made it to 19, frankly. I was considering him with 6 if the Raptors had kept their 6th pick. Yeah. I mean, no shade. Like I'm, good for him if he went back. He felt he needed to go back. Also, in the 2024 draft, one of Scotty's friends, Jonathan Magobo, is mocked at the 47th pick, and he's one of Scotty's really good friends. So maybe that's a guy that the Raptors look at 31 if they end up having like a lot of insight into him, and maybe he had a really big year last year. I'm not really high on him personally. I think he's very undersized, but he is very interesting athletically. So Dylan Harper looks good too. Yeah. Whereas just as mobile as he's an elite shot blocker with a 7'4" wingspan and potential to be a 3-level threat. Cool. I don't think so. Again, potential. You know who else had potential? Kwame Brown. You know who else had potential? Darko Milicic. You know who else had like basically I just could take you down a list of all these big guys who had potential. Bro, I don't care. Like there's like a fluidity and a coordination and a love for the game and an intelligence, a motor that is required to be great in the NBA. I don't see it, man. I don't see Khalil Ware having a motor. He dials in and out. He zones in and out. Like he has quarters where I feel like I don't feel him as a D1 prospect in certain quarters. Again, this could be a Grady Dick thing. Grady Dick last year, I watched 5 games. I was unimpressed in 4, so I wrote him off. Maybe this is one of those things where I have to watch Khalil's best game of the season and be like, oh, great, I see it. You know what I mean? John Lamb with another super chat. Thank you so much. I really think we can get a Kongwu. I don't think so. But if they take Alex Sarr with the number 1 pick, then maybe that door opens up a little bit. Maybe. But I think they can play together. I really don't think they should take Alex Sarr with the first overall pick, and I have a feeling they're going to take Zachary Sachet. That's just me. Did I see Landry Fields and Kyle Korver and their entire front office basically sitting there scouting Zachary Sachet the other day? Yes, I did. Is Zachary Sachet having like a really, really good turnaround? Yes, he is. I think he scored 28 points the other day. So he's good, man. He's a good young player. Like I take him over Alex Sarr 10 times out of 10. That's just me right now. I'm also the guy who said Paolo was not going to be better than Jabari Smith. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. Sometimes I'm wrong. I'm not wrong a lot, but I'm wrong often enough and wrong in a really big way often enough that I have learned to second guess myself as well. Hawks draft Edey. If that happens, I will end this channel. How's that? I'll literally stop this channel because then I've officially lost my mind. I don't understand basketball at all. If Edey goes number 1, I'm assuming you mean at number 1. If he goes number 1, like that's just fucking like I've lost my mind. Like I don't understand basketball. I don't understand anything. I cannot imagine that. However, I do want to say and just make sure that my take is on record here. I am higher on Zach Edey than I was 2 months ago, and I think that he is a very reasonable player who will have a modest amount of success in the NBA. I don't see him as being like a starter or an all-star or anything like that, but like his size, his coordination has been good, and he's productive. He's really productive. Yeah. Edey is coming to the Raptors. Well, that should be fun. That'd be cool. Cool. I hope we don't pick him over, someone that we're going to regret passing on. But if he's the best player available, I guess you take him. I think he's probably. When did he do this? He did this a long time ago. Country Kong, you just saying the craziest shit in the world. I'm glad you came around on Edey. That was about to be a Kessler situation. No, it was not about to be a Walker Kessler situation. Zach Edey is not going to be Walker Kessler. Is a very different type. Is Edey better than Yak, Rob? No. We should hire Marc Gasol, an assistant trainer to Edey. That would be interesting, but Marc Gasol is very busy in Spain right now. He can be. Yeah, sure. A lot of people can be better at things, but I mean, I don't work in yes he cans or no he can'ts. I look at probable outcomes. Like, can can East Misi be a bust? Yes. Probable outcome? No. You know what I mean? Can Khalil Ware be a 6-time All-Star? Yes. The probability of that happening? Less than 1%. I don't like taking first round picks that have a less than 1% chance of achieving their potential. Here's the thing though. Like, just like I said the other day or earlier in this live, like, can I imagine this team winning? How do I see it happening, etc.? Like, I think you have to draw out these maps. Like, if you're thinking about this from a team building perspective, there's also a player building perspective of this, you know? Like, there is a version of a player in their career, and it doesn't always scale proportionately. Like, there are certain players that have like very high boom and bust potential, and chances are that you have to come up with like median outcomes, right? Like, you have to draw a pie chart almost and say, okay, 60% likely this player ends up being a serviceable big off my bench. 10% likely this player ends up being a Hall of Famer. You know, okay, fine. Well, that's a really great pick, you know, and 20% likely this player just ends up out of the league in 2 years. Okay, something like that. And then there are some prospects like Tim Duncan where you're just like, okay, 80% likely this guy ends up being a future all-star, 20% likely, okay, 19% likely he ends up being an all-time great, and 1% likely he ends up like having a career-ending injury. Like those are your outcomes with Tim Duncan, or like a Yao Ming or something like that. Maybe Yao Ming, the injury risk is higher because he's a bigger player. Again, you can't always look at the 2% outcome. You just can't. This reminds me of people who bet on like 6-leg parlays and say, but I bet $100 to win like, I don't know, like $2,000. And it's just like, yeah, there's a reason those odds are where they are. Don't look at the $2,000. Look at, look at your $1 being lost, Who do you got dialed in at 19th pick? Bub Carrington. Bub Carrington, East Misi. If not those two guys, Nikola Jurisic, I think would be an interesting player to pick in that range. I could sell myself on Deron Holmes. I just don't know if I'm as high on him as a lot of other people are. Like, he's interesting. I think I can get around on Peckham as well in this range. So yeah, like, I think you're gonna end up with one of those players. I'm just not sure which one. And barring, someone could fall, like including the French player that they were alluding that the Toronto Raptors went to go see, Bob Carrington for backup point guard. Yeah, sure. You need rim pressure, you need shot creation, you need 3-point shooting. He does a lot of that. He doesn't do the rim protection pressure stuff yet, but I think he can. The first step of rim pressure is getting past your man. He's crafty. He can do that. Shot making makes you more of a threat. Like, again, one of the coolest things about college prospects going to the pros or international prospect going to the pros is you always ask yourself, at least I always ask myself, is does this player benefit from speed, talent around them, and expanded space? Like, these are the three biggest adjustments. And how will they cope with the increased physicality, increased temptations, increased minutes load and workload of an 82 game season? So, you have a player who's very easily put off task or has difficulty self-starting. Well, now they have difficulty self-starting in a college environment in which they are the man. How difficult is it going to be to self-start when you're the 14th guy on the roster doing trips from Mississauga to the NBA, never playing a minute? You know how difficult it is to turn around your season the way Grady Dick did this year? That's psychological profiling. That's why you do it. You do it because you need to know how a prospect's going to respond to adversity. That's important. The expanded space argument, it just comes down to, angles and how you exploit angles. Players who exploit angles will only do a better job of exploiting larger angles. That's just the point, right? So when you pull apart the 3-point line and you pull it further back, right? You put better players around you, there's less gapping. So sometimes that can mean a player who struggles at one level because there isn't enough space for them to navigate, i.e. Scotty Barnes. They're such a huge athlete. They don't have refined, handle, and they're not super coordinated in terms of their attacks offensively. This is a person who's going to thrive with expanded space, because the expanded space is going to help them get to their spots easier, because their spots get larger and there's bigger gaps and swaths of space. Scotty Barnes in Florida State was a congested mess. Couldn't drive into the paint because it's so big, without having the ball poked or like having someone like right next to him. Whereas, attacking a closeout as a rookie with Pascal and OG and Scotty and Fred and whatever, sorry, with Fred and stuff, Gary, just having like more talent around you was so helpful for him, and because he was so often being guarded by a big, it somewhat mitigated some of his offensive limitations, in terms of his handle. Scotty played a lot of small ball center for the Raptors as a rookie. So yeah, I think that it's important to sort of like project out. And then certain players, you're like, man, like, why do you think smallish guards tend to struggle in the NBA? Because the increased space hurts them. You know what I mean? The increased verticality, the increased toughness, physicality, etc., increased size hurts them. They need to find new angles to navigate. If you put Kyle Lowry in an average D1 basketball game today, he would score very, very easily. He's just so strong, and he wouldn't face as many limitations as he does in the NBA. Again, it takes a different path for undersized players. That's why it's so admirable what Jalen Brunson's been able to do, because you could see certainly seeds of this in Villanova. Lots of them, actually. However, it's difficult to then do it in the NBA against completely different level of competition, like to play your game that way. Again, like guys like Shai and guys like Devin Booker, you definitely did not see this coming when they were at Kentucky, right? Like expanded space, shot makers, long, it helps. Anyways, I'm out. We're at 2 hours and 21 minutes. This is a very, very long live, but thank you for all the super chats. Really appreciate it. Nice one saying Carlton got that size too. He looks like an NBA player. I was a little bit disheartened that he didn't measure out at 6'5". I was kind of hoping that he measured out at 6'5" without shoes. He ended up measuring at 6'3", That's not bad for a combo guard. He can fully play one. He just like a score first one. You know what I mean? Some people compare him to a bigger Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, etc. You know who I see in him? I see a lot of DeJounte Murray in him. And ironically, when he was doing an interview, he compared himself to DeJounte Murray meets Devin Booker. And I was like, apt. That's apt. I don't know about Devin Booker, but I see a lot of DeJounte in him. We'll see if the defense can be DeJounte, rookie DeJounte, sophomore DeJounte. But that would be a great player. I've always wanted DeJounte on this team, so that would be great to get him. I just don't see a way that Bob Carrington fails in the NBA. I don't know if he'd be a star. Probably not. But I think I could see him being a role player for a very long time. The rest of these guys, I have no idea. Yeah. Anyways, talk to y'all later. Peace. See you tomorrow. Good luck. Tariq saying predict the Raptors record for next year. 37 wins. 37-40. 37-39. Something like that. Yeah. Peace.